think that's a really good example because a lot of people are experiencing that. It's very down to earth where we don't like what they're showing. We see they're presenting mediocre content, but we still pay a subscription.
It's because we haven't figured out what else to do with our time. You know, there are other things, you know, things existed before cable.
Yeah.
There are some of us have lived long enough that we know that we did things before there was cable.
Like go outside and touch grass. That's what they say nowadays. You need to go touch grass.
People will get blocked in their throat chakra because they're speaking indirectly, they're speaking passively, or they're speaking in a way that serves for validation rather than saying something truthfully because they're afraid of those consequences. However, if you begin speaking in integrity and saying the things that you actually mean, it begins opening this up. And one way to do that is to speak downwardly, to speak with conviction, to speak about the truth. And so you even hear it in my tone. I'm always speaking down.
And then the speaker is pointing to like a small table or square that has sand on it, and then they play a frequency.
Or water. They'll do water.
Yeah. And they'll play a frequency, and they'll basically start from really low, and they'll slowly dial up, and you'll kind of see the material shake and
geometric
move.
shapes.
And then every now and then, you'll see real geometric shapes form on a specific frequency, and then you keep going and the shape fades, and then it's kind of a mess again, and then pretty soon it forms another beautiful symmetrical shape. These wild geometric, it looks like it's sacred geometry.
It is. It's sacred geometry.
Yeah.
That's how the universe is created in ancient religions, pretty much all of them. Even in the Bible, it says in the beginning was the Word, and in India they say it was Om, and the whole universe was created by Om. There's this concept that everything is held together by sound or frequency.
Welcome to Call for the Truth. We are so happy to have you with us today. We are in a rainy day in Georgia. I am LaOta of the Sun. This is Tarvars of the Sun. And today we're going to be talking about what it feels like when you're being aggressed and pushed around and you don't know what to do. Any levels of passivity that we have and how we justify that to ourselves. So before we begin, I'd like to ask Tarvars, will you call for the truth for us?
Yes, certainly. And we invite you all to join us in the call for the truth. Should we call should we call for the frequency of truth to come forward? Should we call to see the truth in all that we see? Should we call to hear the truth in all that we hear? Should we call to speak the truth, calling forth the courage to speak the truth? Should we call forth nothing less than the truth to come forward into our experience? Truth of passivity. But specifically this idea of don't be a walking mat or a floor mat. You know, don't allow yourself to be pushed around by other people. When you were speaking, I had a thought about, you know, my whiteboard that I got with all these quotes and sayings.
Yes.
It's a lot. I need a bigger whiteboard. However, there's this saying that I have that says, don't allow the weakness of others to bully you. And I think about that sometimes because most people, and I know this has been my experience, where we see that there's a weakness that a person has, and that acknowledgement of that weakness, we may stop our motion or not do the thing we know we need to be doing in that moment due to the way this person may respond or feel. So that in and of itself is passivity, but it's an indirect form of bullying because of the weakness that the person has. So I won't say what I want to say because they might throw a fit or they may collapse in front of me. Oh no. And then you're in a place stuck where your throat chakra takes a blow and you're not speaking your truth. And again, that's to me is a form of passivity that it works against us. But I want to hear your thoughts on this, but then also, like, what is passivity? Because passivity can be looked at in a lot of different ways.
So there's so many things that you said I'd like to address.
Please.
The idea of someone having such a clear, strong, directive thought that we can feel it, know it, and understand it, whether they tell us or not. And we know that if we go against it, that there's going to be a response that may not be something we like. So then what we're really in conflict with is their thought form. So my mama's thought form about this thing, if I do this, that thought form is going to jump out and do that, that kind of idea. And so often it silences us. And so we live in a world where our inner experience of being silenced is our outer experience of being censored. So it is no different than censoring that's going on in our world. It's the same thing, is that this strong intent and clear directive that you will not do or say a thing that I have chosen not to be said. And then we acquiesce because it's going to be loud. It's going to be a problem. Something's going to happen if I do. And so then we acquiesce to the censorship. And we're not even talking about right or wrong here. We're just talking about you have been silenced. You have been shut down because of another person's thought. They didn't say it, or maybe they did, but they don't have to say it. They can put something in place, a construct, an algorithm that lets you know that if you say this, then you're going to lose the thing that you think you want from the person. So this idea of passivity fits into that's one way that can be understood, where you are silenced willingly through your own understandings. You have put someone else's idea, given it more value than yours. And whatever it is you have positioned yourself to want from them has become the thing that they use to beat you with. So if you got to live at the person's house, then that's the thing they beat you with. So if you need to eat the food they're cooking, if you want to be on their format, on their platform, if you want something from them, then you've given them the power to silence you. So that applies all the way across the board. And often, we don't realize that we are not entitled to what someone has until that comes up. And then we are like, I'm not in agreement with that, but I'm going to lose my place in line if I don't agree with this. So we see this all throughout our culture. We see it in the news headlines about what happens to people who want to be in music, what happens to people who want to be in the movies, what's held over them, because they want what they perceive as the power someone else has over them. But it happens in our individual lives with our children. Like, they're not going to love me if I tell them they can't be on the phone. And so it silences you. Like, I know they shouldn't be on the phone. I know it's not good for their brains. I know that they're not behaving properly. I know that they'll only have worse behavior, but they're going to think I don't love them, or they're going to treat me as if I don't love them if I don't let them do it. So I'm going to passively look the other way while they're on the phone all night in bed, when they should be resting and sleeping so they can grow and be strong. So the passivity is the self-imposed sabotage. It is this idea that when you know a thing is wrong and you do it anyway, there is a weight within you that punishes you. This is just the truth. Like, you know that you're a sugar diabetic and you're eating, chocolate cake, you get punished twice. You get punished because you're willing to do the thing against yourself, and then your body responds the way that you thought it would, and it punishes you too.
So there's two factors going on. And I see there's a difference between lack of awareness and the type of cause and effect reaction that occurs. But then there's the double with, I know what this is about, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yes,
And so that's,
there's a reward for that.
yeah, that's
Double
interesting.
reward.
It's making me think about when we're children and the oldest one who knows the most get that pow pow. You didn't watch your children like mom said, even though you didn't do the thing, the children did it, but it was on your watch because you knew more. There's a greater level of accountability or responsibility.
It applies to the civilization we live in. Not all souls are at the same level of development. We live in a world where some souls come in as baby souls and they're trying all the different things and they really don't know what's going to happen. And then some souls come in and like, I was a drug addict 5 lifetimes ago. I know about this. Like, don't do that. You know, that's not going to work out. But so there is this level of knowingness and responsibility at deep soul levels that applies even to the civilization that we live in. Everybody is not equally at the same level. Everyone has an equal opportunity to grow into whatever they'd like to be from wherever they are.
So I want to back it up a bit. In the early monologue about passivity, there were so many different things that you said. One of the takeaways was we're walking around here scared of people's thoughts. Like, not what they're saying, but what they're thinking, because we all have some level of psychic awareness of picking up on people's thoughts. And sometimes it's just because we know off of past history. We know what not to do, what may not land right. But the other aspect that I thought was interesting is the attachment to something. And we're kind of in this battle with self of, well, if I do this, that means I won't have XYZ that comes with being passive with this person.
Right.
So I'll just solar plexus and throat chakra shut down.
Right.
So that's what I'm seeing with it. And it does... It looks silly. It sounds silly. But then you also said something about outer censorship that's happening in our world. And I'd like you to touch on this idea of what we're doing to self is reflected on the outside world, because that's literally a micro of a macro taking place.
I want to use this example of a historical situation that took place. It doesn't take place anymore, but it used to be that certain religious groups would bring in women to be devotees to the religion, and they would marry the deity. You know, I'm married to God. I'm going to sign over all of my inheritance. And then they go into a convent and they're on silence for the rest of their life. Like, just give us your money and shut the hell up. That's the world that we're in. The world that we're in is like, just buy the thing and don't tell us anything. We don't want to hear any of it. Just give us the money and the adoration and adore that we are the deity. So that's the idea of the world that we're in. The issue becomes, it's so multi-layered. The throat chakra is so important. It is so important that we speak truth, that we sing the reality of our beingness through the throat chakra. Sound is how the whole universe was created. There is nothing that owes its existence to the world that is greater than sound. So if we shut down our ability to freely speak because of our willingness to believe in fantasy, for our willingness to accept what we think is love, which cannot, by definition, cannot be love. Like, I don't love you if you don't do that. Well, then that's not love.
Yeah,
you know, like that's, you don't love me if I don't do that, then you don't love me. You know, whether I do that or I don't do that. So that there's all of that. So this idea that we're backing ourselves into a corner where our technology, our bodies won't work. We need the throat chakra to be the communication between the lower chakras and the upper chakras. We need to be able to vocalize. We need to use the roof of our mouth. We need to use the saliva. We need to use our teeth. We need to form words to answer our world. Almost every life form vocalizes. not every, but almost every life form can vocalize. And it's needed as a way of expressing life because, again, sound is relevant to life on Earth and life in everywhere else as well. So when we willingly become passive, when we willingly refuse to speak or even refuse to think the thought that would let us speak, or when we're ready to be like afraid of what somebody else thinks. I want to say, I'm not afraid of what you think. You know, think it anyway. Because I'm going to match what you think with what I think. What I think is, I want to move forward in the truth. So we might be at loggerheads, which means I can still speak. But that's the better place to be until you can overcome and let the other person know that they may not enslave you, that you may not shut me down and put me in a convent and take all my money, make me worship you, and then I don't speak. I mean, the analogy is really good. Yeah. We're living in that world. Just buy the stuff, stay in your house, and don't say nothing that we don't like. It's an old plan that has been executed for centuries.
It seems very, very clear.
And then we do it individually. So what's external to us happens to us internally. So we're inside our relationships, in our house, with our children or our husbands or our partners or our roommates. And we know that they are going to really act up if we don't agree with what they perceive to be the truth of a situation. Even though they may not be able to see beyond it, if there is an opportunity for us and we are able to see beyond it, we should not be so passive and afraid to say it that it never gets said. So there are people who live with us who never say anything, but they just walk around thinking things. They just walk around with thought forms, and we can feel.
Like everyone's aware of the thought forms.
Everybody's aware of what they're thinking, but they're like, I'm not saying it, so you can't prove it. You can speak to that. You can pack their clothes, you can open the door, you can gas up their car. You can, the idea is that we can all feel when someone has a hard-held thought, especially if it's in support of us. We can feel the love and support. Mm-hmm. Like, I know that person supports me because I can feel it. No, they didn't tell me, but I can feel their support. Well, the same thing happens. I know that person in my house is against me. I know that they're thinking terrible thoughts. I know that everything I say they think is garbage. Then you can speak to that. You can say, I see that that's what you think. No one's trying to change your mind, but I'm going to voice what you will not voice.
When you say speak to that, are you saying speaking to the thought form that we're acknowledging, or, hey, person in the house, I know what you've been thinking. Your stinking thinking is clouding up the space. Clean behind yourself. And by the way, I'm going to say what I want. Like, which one is it?
I say what you want anyway. I say if you're sovereign, it's your house, say what you want to say. I say if you are wanting something from another person, that you position yourself where you may have to curtail what you say. Position yourself for sovereignty so that you can say and do what it is that you see that is true for you.
Okay, I want to put a pin in that, but then get back to the thought form thing. So we're saying this to the thought form that we see.
So
that we're picking up from the other person.
I have lived in many situations where another person's thought form was very clear to me. It may not be as clear to them.
Yeah, because most people don't even realize what they be thinking.
Their hard-held thought that becomes very clear. My equation is live a life where I'm free to think and say what I want. I'm not afraid of your thought form. I'm free to think and say what I want. So if then I say and think something, then it's up to them to go away. It's not up to me to go away because it's I've established myself in a sovereign position. So it's not even so much that there's anything verbal, but the position you take does speak to it. It's not passive to say, no, I'm not acquiescing to what I see you're thinking. I'm not going to acquiesce to that. I'm still going to say and do. I'm still going to sing every day at 3 o'clock because that's what I feel like doing. I don't care if you don't like it, because this is the place where I can exercise my throat chakra that will give me a connection between my mind and my body needs it, and so it shall be. If you don't like it, it's okay. Do the thing that is best for you in that situation. But I'm not going to passively agree to not do the thing that you don't like because you're thinking you don't like it. And that's what happens in our inner world, but it also happens in our outer world, where we silence ourselves and we start changing language and rewriting words so that we can still get the thing we want from the system that exists. Because we want to depend on that system when we're capable of making a new system.
Be-Bration. We are a universal remedy of support, an ally infused with positive frequencies and biophotonic light particles, intended to return one to the greater whole of one's organic nature. Within our layered structure exists an opportunity for metamorphosis, prompting divine healing energies of light to awaken your original composition, that which has been irritated by inorganic substances through mental, emotional, and physical material. We are navigators, those who operate by way of your conscious thought and directive, exponentially moving to the physical areas of stuck emotion within the body that are in need of restoration. When engaged with us, we identify and mirror the called upon frequencies of lower vibratory notion for it to see itself in transmutation, while awakening that which is dormant to shift into the rectification of optimum balance and functionality.
So on that note, I want to pick back up the sticky note. I was searching for it too. I'm like, where's that etheric sticky note, that thought form? So you said something about creating or making yourself sovereign. And in some of these scenarios that we've shared, the person has relinquished some of their sovereignty, so to say, and that in and of itself makes people feel apprehensive to speaking their truth or releasing some form of passivity. So would you elaborate a little bit more on this, like how people can go about making themselves sovereign in certain situations? Because sometimes it may require a person to like get up and go, but they feel like they can't, you know.
Well,
so it's
we're all in this situation. I'm on a platform that's censoring me.
Yeah, they
We're all
like, comment, subscribe, share this, because you know they shadow
we are
banned us.
all in this in varying levels and degree. This is where our world has gotten to, and it got here before we recognized it. So now here we are, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, all trying to be heard so we can gather the strength so that we can build sovereignty as a community. Many people who are listening to this are in that situation. However, what should be happening is that we should be testing the limits. We should be like, if I can say whatever I can say that is the truth, I'm going to say it all the way up to the edge of it. We should not be, well, let me just never say anything about that. Let me just pretend that's not happening. We should be pushing the limits and then figuring out how to get together and do something different. So if that applies whether you've got a roommate,
I can see it.
or whether you're, whatever your situation is, it applies that you should be moving towards your own strength, moving towards your own growth, moving towards your greatest expression of you, not allowing someone else to use their thought forms to keep you subjugated, because they can't see their limitation, their dislike. They don't like you. They don't like what you're thinking. They don't like what you're saying. They don't like the way that you dress. They don't like this thing and that thing, which is, they're free to do that. It's so wonderful. We live in a free choice universe where they're free to do that. And then you're free to do the next thing after you see what they did. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if we focus, the laws and principles of the universe are such that what we really want, we can get. It's really a matter of how determined and how we hold on to it. Do we relentlessly think, let me be free, let me be sovereign, let me be in the truth? If we relentlessly think that, then we find that we can live somewhere else where people will appreciate us.
It's making me think about what you said earlier, how the taking action on passivity has its own reward. And I can see where taking action on freedom, as scary as that might seem, it has a built-in reward. And it keeps reinforcing the broadcast, where
Yeah.
it's not just the thought of speaking to the thought form, hey, I hear what you're thinking, I'm going to do what I'm going to do anyway. But it's also the action and the beingness and the presence of the person when the opportunity is presenting. And so I can see how things can be, the field can be influenced to pull circumstances to the person by standing up.
And sometimes, there is consequences. But I wrote this in my book, and I find it to be true every day, that you could die the death of a coward. You die 1,000 times because of how people treat you and what they do to you. You're going to die anyway. You die the death of a hero. It only happens once. You don't have to be insulted 1,000 times. Be courageous.
This is making me think about what humanity's experiencing.
Yes.
And specifically looking at the U.S. So on the phone with my father, and I was just thinking about how many people in higher positions on news and in conferences are saying like they don't like what they're seeing, but it's like there's still that passivity, like this is wrong, our own government is trafficking children, we need to do something about that. And these are people in government who are saying this, who are in positions, but like it's still happening, so I do see, and I was sharing with him this perspective that I think some people hold. The people who we have elected are a reflection of us, especially the ones who are voting, especially the ones who are doing that. So there's that idea of, again, what we're seeing outside of us on this larger scale of passivity towards, all the things. I don't have to go down the list of what they're doing.
Oh, I'd like to go down the list. Like somebody snatching your phone and telling you who you can see and
that's
who you
not
can talk to.
government. That's not the government, but like take it there. This is okay. Scaled down to everyday.
Yeah, the everyday of it. Somebody telling you who you can see, who you can't see, taking your phone, checking the numbers, questioning you about the legitimacy of your adult experience with your phone. Somebody who thinks that is no different than what's happening in our external world in the larger idea, not only of our government, but the governments all around the world, Canada, Australia, all of these places where this is taking place because of passivity, because people don't say like, no, it is not appropriate for you to tell me who I can speak to and who I cannot, nor is it appropriate for you to tell me what I can say or what I cannot say. And that piece of property is mine, and that's private, and you should not be going through my phone or anything else I own that is private, because that's an inappropriate behavior and you are out of order. And whatever thought forms are driving you, which is really mostly fear, because that's what's driving the mega corporations and the government. Everybody is so afraid of us. We ought to show them why.
Hell yeah. So this example that you're giving, which is based off of real life scenarios, the person who allowed and permitted the other person to take their phone and all the other things that happened, they allowed it again because of the attachment, right? attachment to what they thought they were going to lose.
Yes, it's always about what you think you have. It's always about, like, I think I have this job with the government where, I can retire and I can get a pension. I think I have this relationship where I have somebody who's going to be with me until I die. I think I have this relationship where this person is exactly what I wanted. So because they're exactly what I wanted, I don't want to upset the apple cart, because then I won't have exactly what I wanted.
But is it exactly what you wanted if you're
It
experiencing
might be.
this?
It might be. I have been in this situation myself. In my learning process, I've been through all of these phases. And I'm currently in the same phase of being censored by my platform. So we are all in varying levels of this if you live on Earth. If you live on Earth, you're in varying levels of this.
True.
So it's the matter of, do you plan to stay there? Do you plan to remain silent? Do you plan to continue to be passive? Or are you working on a plan?
Gotcha.
Are you working on a way to be free, to not be the coward, to be the person who stands up and says, no, in the situation where you can. But what gets us into these situations is the same thing that gets me here on YouTube. I would like to talk to everybody. This platform exists. It allows me that opportunity to talk to people that are more than what I can talk to on my phone in my living room. So I'm willing to speak about things in a way that allows me to be on the platform. That's what applies in our marriages, in our boyfriend, girlfriend, and all of our situations. It's a matter of how deeply, there's many levels of steps in this. There's like 100 steps that you can take into it. You can take the position I'm taking, or you could take a position where I'm only going to do what they want me to do. I'm never going to push the boundary. I'm never going to see where else it can go. I'm not going to take that strike. Or you can see, where you can go with this while you're planning to do something else. That's my plan.
Insightful.
But it's always it is always self-imprisoning. It is always from the position of less power than more power. Otherwise, you wouldn't show up for that conversation. You wouldn't show up to a conversation where you have to be silent. It's always from the position of, there's something I want, and that person has it. I want to be a singer. I want to be an actor. What do I have to do? How much do I have to be compromised? What do I have to become to be that? So that's all in the news right now. Like, what kind of beating are you willing to take to be a singer? What kind of abuse are you willing to endure? And then you then become that passive thing. And being passive does not stop the aggressor.
Yeah,
The aggressor doesn't stop beating you up or kicking you because you don't fight back.
It's like, I gave you the lunch money yesterday. I thought you were going to leave me alone. Now I'm an easy target.
Yeah, the bully who takes your lunch money, and that happened to me when I was a little girl. The person who took my lunch money didn't stop taking it because I gave it to them. That's not how that works. That's one of those things where you haven't got enough cheeks to turn. How many days in the year is it? How many days you got lunch money? It's that same idea. Our purpose in speaking about this is to bring to our attention that we may have a plan, that this is not an inevitable reality, that you don't have to continue this process, continue to move yourself into positions where it's not necessary, where you need less and less what other people have. You need cable less and less because you don't care what's on there. You need things less and less because you have an alternative.
I think that's a really good example, because a lot of people are experiencing that. It's very down to earth, where we don't like what they're showing. We see they're presenting mediocre content, but we still pay a subscription.
It's because we haven't figured out what else to do with our time. There are other things, things existed before cable.
Yeah.
There are some of us have lived long enough that we know that we did things before there was cable.
Like, go outside and touch grass. That's what they say nowadays. You need to go touch grass.
It is important to have interests. When we remove some of these things, it gives us room to be interested in music, in art, in things that that can't do simultaneously. That you can't effectively watch a movie and do art. You can't effectively, do a thing and do that thing at the same time. So those kinds of things, it would be good for us as humanity to gain interest in. Something that would let us focus our attention in an area, and then that also pops us out of passivity. Instead of passively looking at whatever the cable network has to show us, we could actively choose to do a thing that gives us interest and takes us into deeper thinking and makes our brain work better and gives us more options in life. Because when we do only that, we can't even think of what we can do next. Like, well, what am I going to do? If I don't do this, life is over. If I can't have cable, I mean, that's like living in a third world country. People in third world countries have cable.
And Netflix and
DVDs.
And iPhones. And
Yeah,
Indian huts with
they
iPhones.
got everything, yeah.
Creating content.
But the point being that we need to be pushing ourselves out of passivity and towards being engaged and interested in our lives and our world before we don't have them. So that's, I don't know if I answered that.
You did.
Yeah.
Solid. You can do a call for the truth?
Yeah,
Couple?
so we're going to ask Tarvars to call for the truth card pull. He will pull a card that's related to our topic today and share with us what the card says. These cards are not so much open for interpretation. They actually tell you what they mean. And here we're pulling the cards now.
To see the truth regarding passivity.
To see the truth regarding passivity. And it is really raining out. I hope you all can see and hear this rain.
Our card theme is evolution.
Evolution.
The problem is us, and the solution is us. Be brave to change yourself.
Be brave. Have courage. Step forward. Make your life more than it is. Don't allow them to marry you, take your money, and then shut you up. Thank you. In Lakesh and Veritas, with honor, respect, and gratitude.